Recording in progress.
One minute.
Bill, just let her finish your damn beer. This don't concern you, Francine. Unless, of course, you wanted to. Go on. Go, get. Let's go. Shit anyway. Oh.
Hello, everyone. All right. Welcome to session 13, being the leader employees want to follow. We are so glad that you're here, whether it's in person or virtually. My name is Carol Wygant, and I'm currently the student intern with OPRA this semester. I have the pleasure of introducing our speaker today, but before that, I do have a few housekeeping items to go over. This year, we're introducing a new way to give feedback and to request CEUs for each session. You'll see printouts with the QR code on each table. At the end of the session, you can scan the code with your smart device and it will open up a SurveyMonkey survey. These surveys are replacing the sign-in sheets that we kept in the back of the room to request CEUs to partially replace our traditional evaluation in the back of the magazine. You can still use that survey in the back of the magazine if you prefer to submit your session feedback that way. For each session you attend, you should scan the code and complete the survey for that session, especially if you are requesting CEUs. If you need CEUs, the survey is the only way to show you attended the session and proof for reporting purposes. If you're not requesting CEUs, we ask that you still take the survey so we can collect a more detailed response to the session. We would really appreciate any feedback that you have so that we can continue to bring you the highest quality content at our conferences. For those of you online, we will drop the survey link in the Zoom chat and we ask that you complete the survey at the end of the session. Finally, if you need DoDD CPDs, we have printouts in the back that you can grab for your own personal records. All other certificates will be emailed to you a few weeks after the conference. And if you do need any help or assistance, I'm happy to help you, or you can stop by the registration booth after the session for additional assistance. And now I have the pleasure of introducing our speaker today, James Officer. James has over 25 years of experience in coaching others to maximize their opportunities. He received his bachelor's degree in aeronautic technology and his Master of Public Administration from Indiana State University. James has led teams in financial services, proprietary education, and waiver services. As an experienced speaker and trainer, James has facilitated over 300 seminars and was a speaker on the TEDx stage in May 2017. James also published his first book in 2017, Keep Calm and Grow Rich, A Guide to Choosing Your Destiny, and in 2020 published Forgive and Grow Rich, There Will Be No Apology. In 2014, James founded Dash Masters, a professional development company that provides clients the tools and insights to grow through every season of their lives. In 2019, James joined LEL Home Services as Chief People Officer and was promoted to COO in the same year. Please join me in welcoming James.
Thanks. So good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? Everyone can hear me? And for the folks on Zoom, good morning to you as well. So I was walking into the building this morning and I saw Pete Moore. Pete was like, man, that is such a cool shirt. And I said to him, you don't understand the strategy here. Even if I suck today, they will say, that guy sucked, but he had on a great shirt. There's going to be something already that's going to come out of this thing that's pretty good. I am so inspired this morning. And I like to think I live inspired every day, but today I'm especially inspired because as a speaker, sometimes you're on an island, right? You have an idea and you're the only one in the space with that idea. And that doesn't mean it isn't a good idea, and it doesn't mean that there isn't support for it. But today is different because if you were in the sessions yesterday, the opening sessions, first with John, credible, right, session about environment and about mindset. And then following that was Scott and Craig. And they talked about the DSP, hamster wheel, and all those things. And coincidentally, because I don't know any of those folks personally, this conversation will be kind of a follow-up to that. Almost like we sat together and said, hey, you talk about this, and you talk about this, and I'll talk about that. So that's why I feel extra inspired, because I just know the thoughts that I prepared for today are in line with the spirit of this conference. Does that make sense? Feels pretty good. I appreciate the young lady amazing intern. Thank you. Your name just left my head. I appreciate you introducing me and reading the bio. And I'll add a few more things to that. I have been married for 30 years. Well, May will be 30, so we'll just call it 30. And she loves me to death and likes me sometimes. I have 4 children, all in their 20s. They're doing great things in their lives. I mean, they're in their 20s, but they're doing great things in their lives. You get that. And I have these 3 amazing little girls that call me Pop Pop. So Frankie, Queen, and Anna Rose, I can't handle it. That baby. So, and what else? I was a pretty good athlete at one point in my life. I've jumped out of an airplane. I've hung off a cliff. That was scary as hell. And I could go on and on and on. I could talk to you for the next hour about what I've done. But you would walk out of here after that hour and still not know anything about who I am. If I ask you who was the worst boss you ever had, and I'm not going to do that to you. I don't want to invoke those emotions this morning. You would begin with a list of things that he was. If I ask you who was the best leader you ever had, you would begin with the list of things she was. You would very rarely go into what they did. Well, he did this and she did this and he said this. And you would say, wow, she was kind. She was compassionate. She was empathetic. She was ornery. She was selfish. You would go into a list of things that they were. As it turns out, very little credence is given to who we are. Think about it. Even from the time you are a little bitty baby and you successfully poop in the pot, right? Didn't poop in your pamper, you pooped in the pot. Yay, you did it. Then you hit the ball off the tee. Yay, you did it. And you graduate grade school and middle school and high school and you graduate college and you get, yay, you did it. We are constantly validated for what we do. It's just our society. Who's ever been, or how often have you been validated for who you are? Yay, you're collaborative. You are genuine, yay. Who's gotten that banner? Who's got a trophy on their shelf for that? None of us. So then it becomes very easy not to focus on those things. Who we are almost becomes a default of what we're doing versus the other way around. What we do should be a default of who we are. I'm gonna say that one more time. That's cereal box material there. Who we are often is a default of what we do. I do this, husband, brother, father, employee, blah, blah, blah. I do this, so this is who I am. When in fact, it should be who I am. All those characteristics that make me me. What I do should be a default of that. So let's talk about who is it? Who is the leader that employees want to follow? Let's talk about that person for the next 50 minutes or so. Uh-oh. Well, one slide will work, I guess. Here we go. You've heard this before, haven't you? Just so I can see. Show me your hand if you've heard that before. Yeah, just about everybody, right? Employees don't leave companies, they leave leaders. And does that feel good? That actually feels terrible. It's almost like everything is great here except me. That's a terrible feeling. And I won't actually argue that this morning. I won't argue that. I won't argue that the direct supervisor, sometimes the second level supervisor, is the only person that represents that company to the employee. But if this is true, if that's true, then according to Newton's second law, equal and opposite must be true. In other words, if employees don't leave companies, they leave leaders, then what else must be true? They don't stay with companies, they stay with leaders. It just has to be true. You don't hear that part often, right? When things are going well, it's because the company's so great. It's because the 401k plan is amazing. But when employees are leaving, it's because you are terrible. The fact is that can't be possible. Can't be possible. That doesn't take away any value from a company. I like to think we have a great company. But I know within my spirit and deep in my soul that it is the leaders, particularly the frontline leaders, that are our organization. They are making the difference. I am a chief operating officer in my organization, and I've spent maybe 20 hours this year in direct care, maybe 20. How arrogant would it be for me to have an attitude that you follow me because of my title, do what I say because I said so? As it turns out, you hear so many people in my position get on a pedestal and they say, my customer is my number one priority. I just told you, I've not talked to very many customers this year. Just use that term loosely. I haven't talked to customers. So how can my customer be my number one priority? That's just not an accurate statement. In fact, my number one priority should and better be the people taking care of the people. As leaders, our priority has to be taking care of the people who are taking care of the people. Ultimately, the individuals who need care and service, they'll be fine. They'll be great. They'll find and live their good life if the people taking care of them are being taken care of. And so when I ask myself, who is the leader that people want to follow? The first answer, it's the leader that wants to be followed. That's not an enviable position most days. Would you agree? Not enviable. Who wants to be followed? So Dr. Covey made a pretty profound statement some years ago related to this question. Are leaders born or made? You've heard that conversation, I'm sure. And he goes on to say, well, I think that's the wrong question, essentially. It's an incorrect dichotomy. It's neither. Leaders choose to be leaders. It is an absolute choice. And not only is it a choice, but it is a choice every single day. It's a choice every day. Why do I say that? Because it's hard, right? Why isn't everyone a leader in the organization? Why isn't everyone promoted? Because it's hard. And when you're promoted, why don't all leaders succeed? Because it's hard. It's difficult. And those leaders who will succeed and who will have people follow along, take their guidance, grow their skills, grow their presence, those are people who absolutely want it. Who wants it, baby? That's my question. Who wants it? Because if you don't want it, you won't be it. I'm sure I broke several grammatical rules there, and I don't really care. I need you to hear me. If you don't want it, you won't be it. So here's my question, and I want to, maybe some folks that are listening virtually can type in a response to this. I'd love to hear from 2 or 3 people in the room. Why did you choose? Can you tell us, why did you choose? Why did you choose today? Because remember, I said it's a choice you make every day. Why did you choose to lead? Anybody want to share, please? To empower others to be better leaders. Thank you. Anybody else? Why? Why do you choose it? Please.
I think it's just a feeling inside like you're ready for the next level.
Okay. Ready for the next level, to be challenged. Excellent, thank you. Please.
Because I care about what we care about how we do it.
Wow. She said because she cares about what the organization does and how they do it. This is going quick, so let me have one more. That'll be a quartet.
Someone needs to leave.
I'm giving this guy the mic. That is the bottom line, right? Somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to do it. And if you want it, you will ultimately make the choices and decisions to develop the who that you need to be in that role. So I want to talk about 4 areas, four things I'm going to challenge you today to be. The first one is I'm going to challenge you to be aware. Remember, this is not doing, this is being. Be aware. The second thing I'm going to challenge you to do is to be the truth. Not tell the truth, be the truth. Be unflinching. And the last thing I'm going to challenge you to do is be superhuman. You won't believe that piece. Be superhuman. But before I do that, I want to establish one definition here, or one differentiation. That's between power and authority. Very, very simply, power is given, authority is earned. I'm going to establish that quickly. Power is given. It's a title. It's a level in an organization. But authority, you earn it. It is the ability to inspire people to want to do what you want them to do. It's one thing for you to do it because I said so, and because I'm the boss, and because I can potentially fire you. That's one thing. It's another thing to do something because I am so inspired that I want to do it for myself and for my own purposes and for my own development and for things that matter to me. And authority is earned, and it's earned over time, and it's earned based on who you are as a person. Okay, so the first thought I said I wanted to share, be aware. Self-awareness is an incredible gift. Incredible gift. If you think about the subject of emotional intelligence, we don't have time to go down that path, but the elements of emotional intelligence are the 3 elements: self-awareness, self-control, and social competence, right? How well do you know yourself? How well do you control yourself? And how well do you use those things to show up in groups? That's emotional intelligence as a definition. But of those 3, the most powerful is your awareness of you. How do you show up? What do people say about you? What do people think about you? And now, listen, the boss, people are always going to talk about you, right? It's not always going to be positive, but that's okay. Your children don't always talk positively about you. Your spouse doesn't always talk positively about you, right? So, but really, who do they say you are? Who do they say you are? I might like, you're on my nerve today. I wish you hadn't said that. That pissed me off, but that still doesn't define who you are to me. Who do your employees, who do they say you are? What do they see when they look at you? Here's one way you know. How do they treat you? Because how people treat us is a reflection of who we are. Now, you do not have to agree with that. And you certainly don't have to like it. But I encourage you to consider it. How people treat you, how particularly people that report to you, how they treat you is a reflection of how they see you. There is a direct correlation. And so it's very, very important that you are self-aware. That doesn't mean you're perfect. That doesn't mean you have all good days. You could have a lousy day, right? You're welcome. You can have a lousy day, but be aware of it. If I'm having a lousy day, I'm probably not going to be walking around talking to everybody. Probably going to sit down somewhere and drink a cup of coffee until I can get myself together. Or maybe I'm not even going to come around at all for an hour or two because I need to bring my best self. I need to be aware that I am not my best self. This isn't about faking it till you make it. No, it's not that. This is about being aware. Because understanding when I enter the scene, how the scene plays out will be a reflection of me. Let me give you this analogy. If I take a thermometer and I stick it in a cup of coffee, what's going to happen to the mercury? Take that thermometer off, out, wipe it off, stick it in an ice cold glass of water, what's going to happen to that mercury? Right? The thermometer is completely reactive to its environment. Wherever you put it, it's going to change. Up, down, up, down, up, down. The thermostat, on the other hand, just sits on the wall, doesn't say much. But if I turn it down low enough, you'd all be huddled together trying to get warm. If I turn it up high enough, you take off every allowable layer. Why? Because the thermostat controls the environment. As a leader, when you walk into the scene, you should be the thermostat, not the thermometer. But that requires a high level of self-awareness. Am I reacting? Or is the environment responding to me? This could not be more relevant than today. And again, now I'm tying together what John said in his presentation and what Craig and Scott said in their presentation. I don't need to go down and list all of the reasons why we could be falling apart every damn day. I don't need to list those reasons. You know what they are. But to not fall apart is to be that thermometer. It is to be in control of you so that you control your environment. When I was about 9, one of the couple trips I took with my dad, I can remember this. We were traveling in the Smoky Mountains. Anyone ever been in Smoky Mountains? Pretty beautiful. I'll never forget this. It was raining terribly. And we were driving up to our campsite, and we were going uphill, and we were in an old Bronco. Anyway, we're in a Bronco. And we're going up this windy hill, and we got stuck and started to slide. And we hit something and we stopped. And, I didn't know what was going on. I'm 9. I'm like, this is so much fun. The mud is up to my knees. Yay, this is great. And we were out there for a while. My father was so cool. I just thought we were stuck. About 20 minutes goes by. And I mean, it's blinding rain and the mud and it's just slippery. And a truck comes along and this guy he's able to tow us out of this situation. And we get back to the road as much as we can and we make our way to the campsite. I didn't think much about it, but I'll never forget that trip. Fast forward about 10 years later. So now I'm, a freshman in college or so. And I don't know why my dad's telling this story. But he's telling some other people this story and he says, yeah, we were in Smoky Mountains, this thing happened, and we slid and there was a rock that kept us from going off the side of the mountain. I don't remember that. I remember everything, but I didn't know I was looking over the side of a mountain. I just don't remember that because my dad was so cool. He was so cool. I would not have been okay if he were a thermometer in that scenario. Ah! I can laugh now, but I'm just saying, he wasn't panicked at all. My sister, both my sisters, and my little brother, who was like a 3 at the time or so. Nobody remembers that we were on this cliff. Being aware of yourself can often keep your team from going over the cliff. Doesn't mean you don't see it. Doesn't mean you're not aware of it. Doesn't mean you're being phony about it. It means I see the impending doom, but I will not be overcome. Being aware. Because they're always watching. Like they're always paying attention. Always. People are always paying attention. And I have team members who always are talking to me about my lack of a poker face. It's bad. It's bad. And I work on it, and I'm continuously working on it. I'm in a meeting, and I feel it when something gets said, and everybody looks at me. What's his face going to do? That's not okay, man. It's not okay. I'm working on it. I am working on it. Notice I didn't say trying, because trying is failing. It's code for failing. I'm working on my face and my body language because I understand. I've accepted the responsibility of leadership, and I want to be aware of my face because I understand it impacts people. Now, you'd think I'd be more comfortable with this because as an athlete, weekly, I had to endure what was called film day. And if you've never gone through that, just know there's nothing worse than film day. Because it doesn't matter what you think you did on the field. It doesn't matter how you think you performed. There is a film that was you, sir. I mean, it doesn't matter. You're in the locker room bragging about how great you did. But on that film, you missed every tackle. There's no way to deny the film. No way. So you got a couple of choices. You can either make adjustments so you continue to be on the field, or you can say, and you can not be on the field. But what you can't do is deny the film. Now, here's the problem with being in the professional world. We don't have anyone walking around recording us all day, every day. I mean, wouldn't that be awesome? Like, really? Wouldn't that be awesome? Every day you got to film. You got someone recording how you're interacting with your team. And then you'd have to come in the afternoon and they'd say, sit down, let's look at your film. Oh my God, what were you thinking there? Ooh, what's wrong with your face there? Imagine that. Imagine the pressure if we had to, look every day at our performance through other eyes. Ladies and gentlemen, that is exactly what happens every day. Your performance is being viewed and recorded through others' eyes. And they are making an assessment, and that's okay. No pressure. Some days that assessment will be that you are amazing. Some days that assessment will be that you are lousy. But every day that assessment should be made by you first. Every day, you should make that assessment for yourself first. Be aware. Next. Went too far. Crap. Be the truth. And when I say that, I say it specifically. I'm making truth a noun in this scenario. With the modifier the, right? Be the truth. Kind of piggybacking on film day. There's no greater gift you can give a team member than feedback. No greater gift. Feedback. And this little chart here, I think is pretty cool because it kind of shows the impact of the continuum of caring personally and challenging directly. And you can see really quickly, if you care too much but don't challenge enough, that's ruinous empathy. If you don't care and don't challenge, well, that's just manipulative insecurity. If you don't care, but you challenge, that's obnoxious aggression. The sweet spot is when you care like crazy for your people, but you challenge them to be their best every single minute. We call that radical candor. Radical candor. And that level of feedback is what makes people great. Again, you can see it in athletes and you can see it in coaches. That's what makes coaches or athletes, whatever sport it is, this is what makes it so dynamic because people are getting feedback right now. Right now, feedback. And you have to get better. We took it so seriously that we changed the title of the program management team in our organization to direct support coaches. 2 reasons. 1, they were overseeing direct support professionals. So why was their title program manager? Just didn't align. So we changed their title to direct support coaches to drive the idea that you are a coach. You are giving feedback. You are right in there with them. You are giving them right now, here's what you need to be doing differently. Here's what you're doing great. Here's what you need to improve on. And here's how you do it. Immediate feedback. Why is it then? Am I getting any comments or any feedback on Zoom? I just wondered. Yeah. You are looking at their just faces, their pictures. They're not even on camera. No, I'm kidding. I appreciate that because it's hard to listen virtually. So I really do appreciate your attention on Zoom. Thank you so much for that. Why is it that giving feedback is difficult? And I'd like to hear from you. Why is that hard to give people radically truthful feedback? Why is that hard? Please.
I think you're afraid of the person's response.
Okay.
You're afraid of how they may take what you're saying.
Absolutely. Her statement was afraid of the response or concerned about how they might take it. Please, in the back. Say it again. Yes. Very vulnerable place to give. You're almost more vulnerable giving feedback than receiving it because you're opening yourself up for them to say, well, you suck too. Right? Who do you think you are? Does that happen? Probably not, but do people think it? Probably. So great. It does open you up to vulnerability. Anyone else? Why is it so difficult? Please.
I lose my focus. It's I'm there to try to help them get better. So it becomes more about me if I'm criticizing, less about them if I'm trying to help them get better.
That is great. That is great. And everything I just heard is exactly, I mean, we could stop there and I'm sure others could give other variations on that, but that is exactly those elements, the vulnerability, the concern about how other people feel and they might react, and then losing that focus and internalizing it. Right now, why do I feel anxious and upset? You're the one not performing, right? But it's so easy to go down that rat hole. Here's, if I can, I'm gonna wrap it up in a nutshell. Why it's so difficult for us to be the truth. You're not gonna like it. It's because it's hard for you to hear the truth. The better you get at film day, the more open you are to feedback, the more skillful you will be at receiving feedback. I would ask you as leaders to be the truth, meaning I can handle it. I can take the feedback. I can hear that I am whatever about my performance, and I can receive it. In fact, I can ask questions about it. I can infer further. Well, what do you think I could do differently? How could I be better? I will guarantee you, not only will that blow the minds of people who are under you, it will endear them to you on a level that you can't explain. Because it takes away all three of those elements that you just mentioned. Wow, I can give her feedback and he receives it and even embraces it and then questions it. When she comes to give me feedback, I'm gonna show her who's mature and who can handle it and who can grow and who can take it. It almost becomes an obsession of people to get feedback from you. I had a person tell me last week, I'm not making this up. I'm not making this up. James, every time I talk to you, you piss me off. I'm not making it up. And then she said, thank you. And I said, you're welcome. And the next time we talk, I'll probably piss you off because you keep doing stuff. Right? She thanked me, but that was and she knew that she could say that to me and I not be like, hey, do you know my title? Do you know the power I have in this hand? She knew that I wouldn't respond that way. Have I perfected it? No. Have I practiced enough to be able to talk about it? I think so. I think so. And I promise it changes the game to be able to take it. And that will literally take the boogeyman out from under the bed. If you can receive it, you can give it masterfully. On the other side of that, it is be the truth in receiving feedback or hearing what people have to say. I can hear what you're saying, but more importantly, I can see what you're saying. These numbers, you probably remembered from your freshman year communications class. Those numbers represent the three elements of face-to-face communication. Of course, email is even different and phone is different, but this is face-to-face communication. 7% of what you communicate is what? Anybody remember that? Verbal, the words, right? 38% tone, right? 55%, over half of what you're communicating is what? In your body language, face, right? Facial expression, posture, all those things. As people are talking to you, you can see what they're saying, and it's probably more truth than to what the words that are coming out of their mouth. Not to say people are lying, just to say we really communicate with our tone and our body. Very little is communicated with our words. I'm gonna play a little game. 8 words. I'm gonna say these 8 words 8 different ways, and it's gonna mean 8 different things. 7 or 8, I don't know. We'll see. You keep counting. 8 little words. I didn't say I ate the last cookie. Say that with me. I didn't say I ate the last cookie. All right. I didn't say I ate the last cookie. No, don't repeat that. But that's sweet though, man. That's dope. That's totally dope. You're so engaged. So what does this imply? I didn't say I ate the last cookie. What does that imply?
Somebody else.
I didn't say I ate the last cookie. What does that imply? Emphatic, right? I didn't say I ate the last cookie. 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 Folks, I just said the same damn words 8 times. And I said 8 different things. Words mean almost nothing. Words mean almost nothing. And as a leader, they mean almost less than nothing. Because we're being watched, we're being reviewed, we're being analyzed, we're being critiqued. And then what you say has almost nothing to do with what they hear. Almost nothing. It's why we have this love-hate relationship with politicians, right? Right? It's why. Because it's like all these words, blah, 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 words. Not to say it's bad. I'm not casting judgment either way. I'm saying there's a love-hate thing, and it's because it's just words, bro. It's just words, right? So in receiving, when people are talking to you, if you are the truth as a leader, you can understand what they're saying to you beyond their words. And when you can connect with someone beyond what they're saying to you, I'm trying to watch my time because I'm like a country preacher and I get it. When you can see and respond to what people mean, again, it just elevates your level of endearment to them and your value to them as a leader. And they will speak fondly of you at work and away from work. You know, I work for this lady and she is amazing. She hears me. She understands me. He asked the right questions. I don't know how he always knows to ask the right questions. Just being able to be the truth for people and hear what they mean beyond what they're saying. Be the truth. 4th thing, be unflinching. And this picture, this guy inspires me so much. And I won't go into, you know who that is, right? President of South Africa in 1995 until his death. But more significantly, spent 27 years in a prison for standing up for his belief, right? Not for drugs or crime or murder or embezzlement, or for standing up for his belief. And his belief was in the humanity of all people. What? I dare you, go to prison for 27 years. And in that, This man showed no fear or hesitation in the face of danger or difficulty, unflinching. In fact, Nelson Mandela said this, that for 27 years, I never gave away my power to forgive. What? What? 27 years, that's unflinching. And that's what people are looking for right now. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to know where you're going. You don't even have to know how to get us off the edge of the cliff right now. You don't have to know. You don't have to do anything. Just when I look at you, let me see confidence. Let me see stability. Let me see hope when I look at you. Let me see that I am not alone. Let me see that there's someone who's leading me who is not afraid. I see what you see. I feel what you feel. But when you look at me, you will see confidence. You will see grace. You will see poise. Be unflinching. That word has just been seared into my soul lately, to be unflinching. How do you do that? How do you do that? It's being aware. It's being the truth. It's being those things that allows you to stand in the face of real adversity. And we are facing real adversity, whether it's staffing, whether it's the quality of staff, all the things we talked about over the last couple of days. All of those things are real. It's not imagined. And as was shared yesterday, there's no magic wand that makes it go away. But here's what I know for sure. It'll never be managed. You'll never conquer it. You'll never handle it if you're falling apart all the time. People are looking for faces that are unflinching, even through a mask. Unflinching. I know I've said the word about 20 times in the last 35 seconds because I just want to burn. I just want that to burn. I want that to burn. Are you flinching? Do you flinch? I'm not asking, are you afraid? Fear is okay. In fact, courage can't exist without it. Can't. They're not mutually exclusive. I'm not asking, are you afraid? I'm not asking, are you worried? I'm not asking, are you concerned? I'm not asking, are you tired? I'm not asking, are you worn out? I'm not asking, are you overwhelmed? I'm asking, are you unflinching? Because when you are, the people around you, and obviously we're talking about the people that report to you, will in turn be unflinching. And like my siblings and I, they will play in the mud. They will play in the mud. There's a story I heard one time and it cracks me up. These kids were on a field trip. It was kids from a provider. And this one particular, this kid is always kind of wandering off and doing his own thing. So they get through the pony tour and they're on to the next thing. And one of the DSPs is asking, oh my gosh, what happened to, let's just say John. So, well, the last place we were the stables. And so they go and they looking around the stables for Johnny. And they finally find Johnny. And Johnny is up to here in horse stuff. Of course, everybody freaks out. What's he doing, Johnny? There's got to be a pony in here somewhere. Johnny's response. He was not cognizant that he was covered in shit. You hear what I'm saying? He was determined to find the pony. Folks, there's a pony in here somewhere. I get it. You're up to here in it. There's a pony in here somewhere. And we have to be unflinching as we work to find the pony. Unflinching. Final thing. This is one of those things that woke me up one night. And I just wrote it down. I don't know why I was thinking about superhuman. I think I watched the Avengers. And I had this thing about wanting to have superpowers. I'm sure that was it. And I just got this thing, like I want to fly, I want to disappear, I want to walk through that wall, right? You know, just I want to hear what you're thinking. So that's probably why this woke me up, and I jotted down that, wow, I actually can be superhuman. I actually can be superhuman. James, how can you do that? Well, I thought about that we have these 5 senses that we operate from. Every human has these. I mean, unless there's some impairment, right? Smell, sight, touch, taste, and hearing. And if you operate with those senses, you are human. And even if you have some impairment in any one of those, which I happen to have an impairment in one of those, but I still am very human because I function with those senses. These 5 are irrespective of these 5. These 5 characteristics make you more than human. If you can really develop your intuition, right? Ability to see what isn't there, understand what hasn't been said, feel what the room feels like, introspection, truth within yourself, real-time awareness right now. Who am I? How am I showing up? What do I look like? Reflection, looking back over time to see what I could do differently, what I've done well, what could be better. Self-talk. Man, Dr. Jack Canfield, you know that name? Chicken Soup for the Soul guy? Dr. Jack Canfield, I said it once. I know it's, yeah. He has this great book called, I can't remember the title. Google Dr. Canfield, and he's got, this book is about empowerment. Can't remember the exact title, I'm sorry. In this book, he talks about self-talk. And he says that 75% of what we say to ourselves is negative. Isn't that amazing? I mean, I don't know who did the math on that, and I don't know how that calculation came about. It sounded pretty cool, so I thought I'd share it. 75% of what we say to ourselves is negative. Damn, you're so stupid. Why'd you do that? Oh, you so. I don't know. I do know we think 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day. And if 75% of those are negative, yikes. I mean, we could just change the trajectory of our lives if we can get that down to 50%, right? You start operating on a cerebral level if you can get that down to 25%. Gee whiz. If we can just be aware and reflective and intuitive and understand what we're saying to ourselves, what could that change for people around us? And finally, I think the greatest superpower here is to be present. I know you've heard this before. Isn't it interesting that we call now present and that we call present gift? Isn't that interesting? We use those 2 terms synonymously, present and gift. And now is present. I will submit to you that now is the gift. The future doesn't exist, and the past, and I mean the past, even the decision to come in this room, you can't change it. There's nothing you can do to change it. You can't change the past. The future doesn't exist because it's being created every second. The gift is now. And when you can be present, you do something that is amazing for the people that work for you. I'm going to share a quick story, and I'll stop here. And this is a story of the man who inspired everything I've said today. And it's because he was all of these things. And I didn't know it. I didn't know it as I was watching it. But as I reflect on who I am and how I've gotten here and what it is that's shaped me, by the way, most of it traumatic. Probably a lot of you have that story. When I think about it, this man is the epitome of a person who didn't do a whole lot in his life. In fact, he worked for 40 years at IUPUI, that's extension campuses of IU and Purdue Universities in Indiana. He worked for 40 years there as a truck driver, driving things on campus from place to place. 40 years, that's what he did. But who he was an absolute king in the earth. And it's because of the things I've talked about today. You talk about a person who was aware of himself. I didn't know what that looked like then when I saw it, when I witnessed it. But he was always aware of him. My grandfather, every single day, remember what I told you he did for a living? Every single day, his shoes were shiny and his hat was broke. I mean, he was aware. He was aware that I am not my job. I am not my profession. And when he walked around that campus, and most of this I know because people have told me over time. When I sat at that man's funeral, it's been years ago now, I was 27 when he passed away. When I sat at his funeral and I listened to people talk about him, I kept asking, who are they talking about? I couldn't believe the things people said about this man who was a truck driver, who wore shiny boots and a Stetson broke to the right every day with a uniform on that said James. Oh, I'm the third. A work uniform, a gray uniform with shiny boots and a Stetson every single day. And feedback, his feedback came in the form of, that'll catch you later. I won't say it out loud because you'll think he was abusive. He wasn't, but he gave swift feedback. I mean, he disagreed quickly. And he gave feedback in the moment. You talk about timely feedback. And by the time I was 18, there was no coach that could say anything to me or do anything to me that was worse than what my grandfather said or did. Unflinching. Oh my goodness. This man had raised 10 children. My father was the oldest. Two of those children, one of my uncles and aunts were what they called back then, and I know we still use the term sometimes, but special needs. Two of them. In a time where there was just no space for that, no concern for that. Here, just stick them in the closet and slide some water under the door. That's what that was in the 50s, right? 10 children, worked every day, sometimes 2, sometimes 3 jobs. And all I remember is his smile. Did he cry? I'm sure of it. Did he blow up? I'm sure of it. Did he drink a whole bottle of Jack from time to time? I'm sure of it. But that man was unflinching. And finally, the epitome of presence. His last week of life, I'll never forget it. I took him to a dental appointment. And we're in the dental office, walking to the dental office, and all these dental assistants and people, hi, Mr. Officer. I'm like, damn, you're like a celebrity. How all these people know you? And he's like, oh, I don't know. They just treat the old man nice. I'm like, yeah, nobody says that when I walk into any doctor's office. He went back to the dental office and to the dental chair, and I sat out and just waited. It's about 45 minutes. And in that time, each one of those young ladies up front had something to say to me about my grandfather. And the one that stuck with me is this young lady who says to me, that man makes me feel like I'm the only person in the room. Doesn't matter what's going on. When he talks to me, I am the only person in the room. I thought to myself at 27 years old, man, I want that. I want that. When we sat at his funeral, there was not one person who got up and talked about him as a truck driver. There's not a single person that talked about him as a dad, not even his children. They didn't say dad. Not even my grandmother at the time talked about what he did. They all talked about who this man was. And that's the memories that I carry 25 years later. Yeah, I remember getting smacked around, but what I really remember is who he was and how I hope that I am the embodiment of who he was, not what he did. Forget all my accomplishments that make my grandfather's accomplishments look like nothing. That man was a giant. So as you pursue your career in leadership and you develop yourself and become the best leader you can be, yes, do all the things you can. Go to seminars, read books, listen to audiobooks, go to training, do all of it. But more than any of it, focus on who you are becoming, because who you are becoming is the person that people will follow. Thank you all very much. Like 3 minutes, anything, anywhere, any thoughts, questions, feedback? You can be swift with it. I can handle it.
That was the quickest hour I set.
Man, that was hot. Thanks. That's a great, great compliment. Thank you, sir. Anything else? All right. You all have a wonderful day. Thank you for your time and attention.